Welcome to this very unique webinar today with myself, Kurt Heggesreiler from Builders Coach, and Don Doolan from the Not So Silent Business Partner. And guys, this has been a long time coming. I don't have to tell you how pivotal like your financial controls are, right, for running a successful business. And I was just talking to Don before about how everything stems from your accurate financial data. So that's what this conversation today is all about. When we're talking about best practice systems to process financial data through your construction company. And Don's going to be unpacking it. We're going to keep it conversational. We want to keep it interactive as well. So please engage with us as much as you like. In the chat box below, I believe there's a little questions box there. Great. Hey, Luke, good to see you there, mate. If you guys could just give us a wave or let us know that you can see where the questions box is, so we know you're in there. We want to make it interactive. And I'm going to hand over to Don in a sec. But before we do, for those of you that don't know Don, I've known him for, I think, since 2011. It's been a long time. And one of the things that's kept my relationship and my respect with Don right up there is there's a couple of things. We have values alignment as it relates to being client-centric. So my business philosophy is to be client-centric. So quite simply, Virgin, not Jetstar, right? Fuck Telstra and Jetstar. Use the Virgin approach. Look at what your customers or clients want and then give them that and ideally more. Okay, so Don does that. He genuinely wants to help and over-deliver. So that's why our relationship has stood the test of time. He's also product agnostic, as am I. So we're not in bed with any company, not taking kickbacks. We genuinely promote what we believe to be best practice with your best interests at heart, which again ties into being client-centric, okay? So that's our business philosophy. I'd highly recommend, if yours isn't aligned with that, to do the same. It's an approach that's almost foolproof. It makes your business results sustainable, okay? So with that said, Don, over to you, mate.
Cool. Can you see my screen there, Kurt? Let's chat. Very good. Yeah, so everyone's seen the agenda that we're going to have a bit of a chat about today, and it all just stems from the old-fashioned paperwork turning up in your business and sort of what do you do with it and how do you actually get some information out of it at the end. So we're going to just touch on the different roles and responsibilities within the financial area of your business. There's always one system of truth. One source of truth, sorry, which is a system these days, and we'll talk about that. Are all costs everywhere? The process itself, job management systems and accounting systems, and when you've got financial data, what do you do with it, and how does it exist? How does it assist with your marketing? And again, robust systems and processes, of course. This is just a system, and that makes anything repeatable, makes it great for your business. But I'm sure it's more Kurt's arena than mine. Let's get into it. So the roles involved. So when we start with someone, it's just there's all these roles to do within a business, and sometimes one person tries to do them all, and sometimes we split them up. But anyway, let's just look at the roles when it comes to processing your financial data. The first thing is someone's got to collate all the costs. Like it could be receipts for credit cards, could be invoices through email, could be staff reimbursements, could be anything. Someone needs to collate all of that. And then it all needs to be validated. So the validation of a cost, there's so many scams and spams, and every subby sends his invoice to you 10 times before you pay it, all that sort of stuff. So it needs to be validated. Then I like to say, then it needs to actually be approved. So anyone involved with the business, say the business owner or maybe a project manager from a job costing point of view, someone actually needs to approve that they believe that cost is true and exists. There's no point starting processing anything until you've validated it and agree that it's got to be paid on its due date, whenever that is, not today, but you just agree that that cost is true and exists and your business needs to pay it. Then it comes down to the role of getting the cost and time entry. So this is both materials and labor for everyone. So it's sometimes I forget about the time management side, but there's always labor costs and materials costs. So, and how do you get those into the accounting system? And then of course, then you've got to get the cost onto the job. Now, whether that's purchase order matching or cost entry, that's very business specific. And then after that, so once you've got it in the two systems, then you've obviously got to run your accounting processes like accounts payable, accounts receivable, payroll, reconcile. Then you've got to be compliant with the government, but then you need to use the data. You need to analyze the profit on your jobs, do some reporting, then look at your cash flow for the business and what your forecasts are for the business. I guess the only point I'd like to make about all the roles, and there could be one person doing all of this or multiple people, that just depends on the size of your business. But I guess one thing to note here is get a finance person to design and manage the accuracy and execution of the process. If you're a builder and your business is a bit smaller and you're on a job site all day, or you're a project manager and worried about the running of the jobs, you've got different responsibilities. Get a finance specific person. Obviously, in the relationship we usually have with people, we are that finance person. So it might be an internal person or whatever, but anyway, it's definitely not someone who's actually out there worrying about jobs for the majority of this, just the running of it and managing the process. Cool. I guess trying to work out, I've got all those roles mentioned there, but try to work out what is the best way to do it. And the answer is always technology. But unfortunately, there's always going to be people involved with this process as well. So in the current market, it's just how do we use technology to its maximum and involve the team when we need to? So that's always our approach. Like, we're going to solve with technology first, we'll do that. And then if there's manual processes or reviewing processes or whatever, we get the team involved after that. So when it comes to cost, yes, Kurt.
Sorry, that's, if you don't, I'm sorry to butt in, but this is great.
No, plenty of questions.
Yeah, just because there's a lot here, man. There's obviously so much complexity that you're starting to unpack. Even just that first slide, there's so much. But what you just said there, so this is about becoming more systems dependent than people dependent, right? Which makes a business in this day and age with systems and technology a lot easier to run than back in the 90s, say, for example. But there is still a very important need for people to get involved, right? So is there, obviously that's a service that you guys offer, but you also have builders who have people in-house doing stuff. So could you just tell us a bit about that? Like, what's the best practice setup for a building company doing between 3 and 10 mil turnovers, a small building company? Is there one person that does it all? Should they outsource it, have someone in the office, a combination of the two? And is there anyone that shouldn't be involved in any of those tasks? Sorry, there's a few questions in one there.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So down the smaller end, so up to 3 million, for instance, we probably play the majority of those roles just because the builders typically out there running jobs all day. When you get to sort of that next level up, the 3 to 10 million, we find that there's probably a full-time administration type person, we call it, in the business that would do the majority of these roles. And they would work very closely with the project managers or the site guys to work out who actually matches purchase orders or does cost entry on the job itself in the job management system. So all I can say is I think the key person in the business, like in 99 times out of 100, is the builder. They just need this done. They should not be worried about, did an email come in? Do I need to pay it? The only involvement they need is that approval process, that they agree they want to pay it. But yeah, but definitely as your team grows, so at the smaller level, we kind of do everything. Then as they get bigger, then there's an admin person in the business that we work directly with to take the pressure off the builder even working with us around all this stuff. Then as they get bigger, then we kind of, well, we've gone and just set this up for some people like 10 to 15 million turnover businesses, maybe even $20 million businesses we've done it for, where we just set up the technology and show the team how to do it. So yeah, so there's all different levels depending on the size of your business and the people involved in the business. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is two things. Yeah, so the best practice setup of systems and technology for each individual builder, like on this call or listening to the recording, because it's different for everyone. There's no paint by number. So what systems and technology would best suit them set up? And then secondly is, how do you ensure accuracy, man? Because I know we're going to get to that, but I have yet to meet a builder, and I've had a couple come to me already in the 7-figure club. So netting $1 million for those of you that don't know what the 7-figure club is, in a 12-month period after wages, before tax. And their numbers are never accurate. The data is not accurate. So I know you're going to get to that, right?
Yeah, so that's the next slide. We'll get into all that.
Yeah, cool.
I think people, like everyone will get these slides anyway as part of the recording, obviously. But when it comes to cost collation and cost validation, there's products like Dext and Outlook, and your admin team would be running that. And like it checks ABNs, it checks for duplicates, it'll pick up scams, it'll do all sorts of things for you at that entry level. And you can even use that system because not everyone uses purchase orders, right? Whether I agree with that or not, it's a different thing, but not everyone does. And at the beginning of the process, you still need to know what cost category a bill's for. And we use technology to our benefit to, if someone wants to tell us at the start of the process what the cost category is for, because there's no purchase order in the system for it, and we might need to go and add a purchase order if we're doing the admin, then sometimes it's better to get the information up front. So again, things like Dext allow you to have descriptions where you can type things in and click down menus, and you can choose cost codes at that point in time if that's the way the business wants to do it. The whole point is collect it all in one spot, validate it and approve it, then put it in the accounting system, integrate as much as possible with whatever you're using, then get it into the job management system, and then the other bookkeeping sort of stuff comes after that. What I'd like to say about profit analysis, reporting, cash flow and forecasting is whoever's closest to the numbers will be the best person to work with. So if you've got an internal accountant or a bookkeeper like us, we're the best ones to do that with you, even though your accountant might offer the services or an outsourced CFO might offer their services. It's whoever's best with the data, as long as they're financially, we sit down and analyze it with the builder. So it's kind of a joint thing when it comes to that stuff down the bottom of the page. So look, if anyone wanted to talk about their specific team and who should be doing what, by all means, we can just chat whenever. But we've used as much technology as possible to get rid of that. I guess the accuracy, you brought up accuracy a minute ago. Whenever anyone types anything, there's going to be errors. Doesn't matter how good you are. Okay. Yeah. So we're data managers, not data enterers. Okay. So we manage the data and we're always just checking that it's right. Okay. And some of the job management systems are still data entry systems. So we then have to manage that process, that there will be data entry somewhere. And that means there will be errors in that system, no matter what, because someone's typing it. Yeah. So
I heard like an acronym from a nerd, like that in their circles called picnic. That problem in chair, not in computer. So whenever there's it's the human error thing, right?
Yeah. Well, look, I'm very detail orientated and very specific about what I do, but I still whenever I type anything, everyone gets their 6s and their 7s and their 2s and 3s back to front, and before you know it, it's just not accurate. Yeah. Technology, there's another slide a little bit later on explaining how technology can actually help you cross-check your accuracy though. So so use technology, anything that's that optical character recognition, the OCR, anything that reads a piece of paper for you and can remember things, which is what Dext, HubDoc, and all these others do. MYOB and Xero are actually getting better at the AI and the remembering of stuff. Anything that can do that and interpret for you first by just putting a piece of paper somewhere. So there's no time in it. It's just, it's free. It's like $20 a month for Dext. It costs nothing for someone to tell me what it thinks that's on that piece of paper. Yeah. And then all I'm doing is double checking it. Yeah.
I love that technology. I'll use Dext as well. But you mentioned like doing it however the builder wants to do it. But you have figured out over how many years now the best way to do it using people and technology together. So you've got a best practice process that you believe is the best way for most guys, right? To ensure accuracy and also efficiency.
Yeah. So if the volume's at the right size, I recommend a finance person do nearly every role on that page if they can, with the interaction with the project managers and the business owner. So they're making the decisions, but one person's making sure it's Dext, Xero, job management system, all the data is the same in all 3 different spots. So, and then that person is typically the best person to also analyze the data with you, the builder, as well.
And then they should ideally be a detailed person, like a numbers person, obviously. So then, and you have accurate, you have cost codes that correlate, right, across Dex, Xero, and the job management system.
It's crucial. Yeah, you've got to, the cost codes, and that's where purchase orders help a bit within the job management system. And then, but they've all got to be the same between all three, because if I want to run a job report in the job management system, I still want to be able to run the job management report in Xero or MYOB to check it. Like, if someone's telling you all the data and you're using click down drop boxes to fill things in, there's no typing, there's nothing, it's not very time consuming. But if that then gives you the ability to have the data in 3 different spots, that's just the best thing in the world. So then there's no extra typing or anything.
Yeah, it makes it sort of seamless. But on cost codes, I've got to mention, you touched on it earlier, labor costs as having a cost code, because that's the number one area we see overruns, right, with carpentry and just labor in general. Yeah. So that, and then that needs to be tracked using timesheets, right?
Yeah, so depending on what job management software you use, the best place to do your time recording is in the job management software. So it goes directly on the job at the right rate, usually the cost to business rate, whatever the cost to business rate is. So it goes on the job immediately. So the costs are in there. So you've got to record the time on the job. And then, so if the job management system doesn't have time recording, well, then sometimes you can integrate with things like Deputy, or you can do timesheets and put in, but you've still got to put the costs at the right rate on the job every week. Yeah. So there's different ways people manage that, and that typically is dependent on job management system they choose. That's how that works. And you use the output from that to assist with payroll. We typically don't integrate for payroll. We typically take the payroll function itself is not really anything to do with job management. It's just how you pay people. So you record time for job management first, and then you use that data to work out what you need to pay your staff. Sometimes you can integrate, sometimes you can't. It depends on how the business runs. But if you can integrate, of course, do it.
Yep. No, great. Cool. Let's keep moving.
So the source of truth, which we've kind of touched on now already, typically we see 3 systems in every building business, basically, is from a finance point of view only. I know there's plenty of other systems like estimating and all this other stuff as well. So, but from my finance side, we need to collect the data, which we've spoken about. And that's where the data collection system is that collation and validation and approval process. There's the accounting system, of course, and there's the job management system. And they've all got 3 different functions, okay? But I guess the source of truth is what we're saying is, at the end of the day, which system's most accurate, okay? And where do we go in the event that we want to work this out? And it's the accounting system every time, because the accounting system has every expense for the business in it. It has all the time. If it's an employee, it's an employee. If it's a subcontractor, it's a subcontractor. It's also got all the business costs in there. So it'll all be true because it's the bills that you've paid versus the ones that you put on the job. So these are physical payments. So that's how the data gets validated. That's why it'll be in its truest form in your accounting system. So that's where all paperwork has to be there, no matter what. And what you do is you just make sure the philosophy we use is make sure your accounting system has the full set of data, and then grab the subset and put it on the jobs. Okay, and then that way you can actually, if you're using an example of the systems that I'm talking about, I can always then double check the job against Xero if someone's done a something wrong with the data entry in the job management system. I know the systems, we'll talk a little bit about jobs later, but for now, the point is that your accounting system has to be the source of truth. And there's for things too, like you get an audit from the ATO in 5 years or 6 years or something, and the job management systems aren't governed by the ATO. The software companies may or may not exist at the time, but so you might need to be able to get your paperwork if that's where you've stored it. But Xero and MYOB and Dex, they're all governed by the ATO, and they have to, even if they shut their door, provide the data for 7 years. So if you turn your Xero file off and you get audited in 6.5 years, 1 month subscription, turn Xero back on, get all your data and all your paperwork. It's all in there. So it's an approved filing cabinet, those 3 systems.
Okay, so accounting is the source of truth, huh?
Yeah, from a business protection point of view and a business operational point of view. That's true for every industry, not just building. It's just the where it is. Yeah. I guess, but I guess the subset of that is the job costs, okay? And the job costs don't go everywhere either. I mean, overheads are never in the job management system, so they're in the source of truth. But whether you're doing cost plus or fixed price, you may not actually put everything into your job management system, and it may be stored differently in your accounting system. So, for instance, you may rent your truck out rather than and do the tipping rather than having skip bins turn up. Okay, so that's not a cost. If you're doing a cost plus job, well, you've got to invoice that to the customer for sure. And you may need to make an allocation on a fixed price for the use of the vehicle, but they're not a direct match. Credit notes. You get a credit note for something. Do you always pass that on to the customer or not? So that may be in Xero, but may not be in the job management system. You may get discounts that you don't pass on.
So this is why it's so important. Sorry, Don, to jump in again. This is why it's so important to have that source of truth as your accounting, because there's otherwise two separate sets of data, and then you're constantly having to reconcile with your accounting and your job scheduling, and then there's the human data entry factor that comes into play, and then that creates issues and inaccuracy and inefficiency. So you want to have the accounting as a source of truth, and then how do you correlate the two and eliminate the need to reconcile? That's the big question, right?
Yeah, when you're trying to check if the job system's correct versus accounting. So
yeah,
there is a slight little bit.
Is that an issue? Is that even an issue that you see a lot of, and how do you overcome that? Yeah.
Yeah. So so I've got a slide on that later. We can flick forward. So you've got to audit the data. No matter how you do it, you've still got to be able to say, oh, I made a gross profit of 25%, right? And you look at the costs on the job, and the builder just knows I made more or I made less than that. I didn't make that. So what you can do is we can dump stuff out of Dext, the job management system, and Xero, and we can start matching. Is that bill there? Is that bill there? Is the truck rental there? And sometimes it's a manual check because the truck rental, for instance, wouldn't be in Xero, but it'd be in the job management system. And you just got to know this stuff to be able to do that audit. But the point is, all the information's there. And then we audit jobs all the time. That's one of the first things we do. They'll get to, like we got one client at the moment who's finished jobs and he's auditing the last 3 years worth of data. That's in Dext and Xero and Buildertrend in his case. Yeah.
Can you align everything so that you eliminate that need to constantly do those audits, or is that just going to be a necessary evil?
No, you can align it as long as you don't have those other examples. So your truck rentals, your credit notes, your discounts, your fix-ups. If you run it like exactly true, a cost is a cost. So yeah, you can match it exactly. But it's very easy to say, well, there's always a truck rental cost every week or a tip fee of $500 or whatever. It's very easy to know when that's in and out because they're pretty consistent. It's very easy, but it's not. It just takes a little bit of time to just compare the cost between each system. But once you've done it once, you don't have to do it again. You only have to do the latest period. So if you've got a 12-month job and you've done 9 months of that, you never have to do that 9 months again. You've only got to do the new period. Yeah. So it's always current in that way. Because, I mean, I guess the difference between the three systems, obviously there's the data collection, but the accounting system and the job management system will tell you your gross profit margin on the way you've estimated the job. And these anomalies here that we're talking about, you can't do gross profit management in Xero. Okay. And you can't do net profit management in the job management system because there's no overheads over there.
Yeah.
So they're set for two different reasons, and just making sure you use them for the reason that they're meant to be used. Then you've got full data at all times about everything. It's just a matter of you'd analyze your jobs in the job management system. You wouldn't. You use Xero as the cross check. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So You're not, yeah.
Yeah,
If you're ever
that's cool.
analyzing it, yeah. But then every job might have a different flow and a different overhead cost. So if you're trying to work out the true net profit percentage, yeah, so you've got to use zero for that. So
Yeah.
it's just getting everything in the right spot and using it for the right reason, I guess, is probably.
So job
But
management systems for accurate individual job reports and accounting system for net profit analysis over whatever period of time, a quarter, 6 months, 12 months.
Yeah, and job by job, and like comparing one job to another job too, we use zero for that. What does it really mean to the business from a net profit? Like, which,
also checking the accuracy. If it's showing something in the job management system, you can then verify that by checking in accounting system.
I mean, yeah, and the big anomaly, the biggest problem with comparing job management to accounting is if you've got your own internal labor, because the accounting system will have the pay rate in zero, for instance, but you need the whole cost of business rate needs to be allocated to the job, like that's pay rate plus super plus workers comp plus allowances for tools and whatever else, all of that. So you may pay someone $35 an hour, for instance, in zero, and you can still allocate it to the job in zero at $35. But on the job, when you're analyzing your gross profit, it's got to be in there at $60 an hour because that's the true cost to the business. So when you're looking at the business analysis stuff, all the super will be there, the workers comp will be there. So you can analyze the net profit over there, but you can't analyze gross profit because you've got the wrong pay rate in zero.
Yeah.
So
and this is why I don't know if you heard of Michael Stone over in the US. He's been coaching for 52 years or longer, since 1969. He talks about a base rate of $70 an hour for labor. All labor, it doesn't matter if someone's digging a hole or your apprentices, for that exact reason, that there's going to be overruns, guys are going to turn up late, they're going to make mistakes, and there's all these other hidden costs. So they go, and that's US dollars an hour, $70. And then there's your supervision project management that I find doesn't get costed in by most guys when I meet them.
Yeah, I'm a fan of, you charge a rate for a role. If the role is carpentry and it's $70 an hour, it doesn't matter who's doing it, they're still doing the carpentry role. If it's a third year apprentice, whatever, still charge $70 an hour. It's the role that they're playing. If you need to make adjustments in time because someone's inexperienced, we'll make adjustments in time. But keep the rate the same. Have a carpentry rate. So for sure. So that removes the complexity, because otherwise if you're allocating by employee, that employee leaves and you add another employee and then your whole profit margins change. It's just, it's really hard. Yeah. So
sorry, I threw you off your course there, but yeah.
Cool. So job management, so JMS was a bit too long for me to type, so I just went job management system. So there's two main considerations with job management systems. I've listed a few on the right, are probably the ones that I hear the most of. Typically Build Exact and Build a Trend are the two leaders. And again, depends on your business, depends on your job type, depends on your size as to which one you should use. So we're not really going to go into which one to use here today, but there's just a couple of main things to probably discuss about these. They all say they're two-way integrated, but they're not, right? So true two-way integration means that I can push the piece of paper and the costs between two systems backwards and forwards at all times. So I could put it in zero first and push it to Build a Trend or Build Exact or Build In or whatever. Or I could put it in there first and it pushes it to zero and attaches the piece of paper and sends it across. Okay, where that makes it really easy is you can start at the source of truth in zero and just push the job costs across to the job management system. And then whether it's the same person or the project manager that does it in the job management system, they just allocate the cost codes and purchase order matches over there. Nice and easy, right? But unfortunately, it's the minority of ones that have the true two-way integration. And it's the newer players in the market that have it. So then they're lacking in the actual job management side, which is the whole reason we use the system. So most of them have what I call the pretend two-way integration. Like you ring them up, Build a Trend. Build Exact is currently a pretend two-way integration, but just for people to know, by Christmas, they're going to have that solved. They're going to be a true two-way integration. Build a Trend is the pretend two-way integration, and I believe Wonder Build and Build Earn on this screen are also the pretend way, which means They actually profess that you put the piece of paper into the job management system first. They all want you to use purchase orders, so let's not sort of worry too much about whether it's about a cost entry or a purchase order. They all end up purchase orders somehow. But then you push that to 0, okay? But it doesn't send the piece of paper, okay? They don't validate ABNs, they don't validate duplicates, they don't do anything, just put it in there. So there's a lot of problems with going that way. And then in 0, we don't have the piece of paper, and it's only a subset of the source of truth, a subset of the paperwork, which means then you're going to have 2 processes for your paperwork coming in. You're going to have what you call business costs versus job costs. And just because an invoice is from Bunning doesn't mean it's a job cost. It could be you renovating your own house, could be you renovating the office, it could be anything. So not every trade invoice is even a job cost. So there's just a mismatch. We work with clients that want to do it that way, no problems if that's what they want to do. All I'm saying is the time taken to do it is double and the accuracy is halved. So when these and the newer players in market are coming in with the true two-way integration. So the ones that have been around for a while will have to change. They will have to change and have the two-way. If they wanted to enter into the job management system first, at least if it pushed the piece of paper to the accounting system, you'd have half a chance, rather than then having to try and find the piece of paper to store the piece of paper in the system of truth. So anyway, but you just got to work out a way around it. If you love Build Exact or Builder Trend, you just got to work out a way around it. And that I'll show you the system that we use for that in a second to try and make that easy. So
I love that pretend two-way integration. So Build Exact right now would be the horse to back then, if they're working on it. You say within 6.
Yeah, if you like the way the project management's done. I mean, there's a few out there like Next Minute, Builder Price. There's a few out there that have all nailed the two-way integration, but then guys don't like how the job management works. So look, if you like how the job management works in Build Exact, don't move. This problem's going to just change our world once we can go two-way integration with Build Exact. I don't know about Builder Trend if they've got any plans to do it or not. I think over time they'll all have to do it over time, but I just don't know. Build Exact is Australian based, and the way we process our payables over here is a little bit different to the US, so they'll move a bit quicker than someone that's US based. They just understand the need because we've got GST law, the US doesn't. So we're different reasons for having to have the piece of paper in the accounting system. So I guess it's there's plenty of ways, and it just depends on how you solve it. Does depend on the people involved and the size of the business and who's involved, but I guess the few main points there in black is use purchase orders if you can, and as much as you can. Make sure the paperwork does reside in all systems, not just the job management system. That's the truth problem. Always be as descriptive as possible and get someone who's educated. Now, your bookkeeper can be educated in your cost codes and where it goes on a job. They may need a bit of education around. I mean, we do this for over 150 builders, right? And we've got notes for every builder that we do this for to do their cost allocations for them. So it can be done as long as the bookkeeping team do it the way that the builder and the project manager want it done. It's not like they are the only ones who can do it. It's like they created the budget and they run the job. So if they probably know what cost code it should go against better, then again, purchase orders solve that problem anyway. And then we're just matching a purchase order. It either matches or it doesn't. If it doesn't match, we ask the builder, well, what's going on? So there's just a lot of things moving around depending on what system you use. And I guess what's good about our business is we're not just one job management system. We've used probably 8 in the building industry and God knows how many with the trade. So we kind of get the concept of all of them. We're just trying to solve the processing time frame and accuracy for every business that we work with in the way that works within the confines of their business.
So purchase orders are best practice, but are you seeing what percentage of your clients are actually using purchase orders?
Yeah, so purchase orders. It's funny. I reckon the majority of our clients use purchase orders for the main trades, like electricians, plumbers, concrete, whatever. And I mean, if it's like the same build done over and over and over again. So like a granny flat, for instance, they don't have to be a big business to do granny flats. If it's the same build, well, then you can purchase order everything because it's the same every time. But if you're doing bespoke building, it's impossible to purchase order every time in upfront. And that's where we use Dext a bit to help get the cost code off our builders, because we end up creating the purchase order for them in the job management system. So, and that's the bit that I call cost entry versus purchase order matching. The majority of our clients are purchase order for the main trades and cost entry or bill entry or whatever you want to call it for the Bunnings of the worlds and things like that, as you go get your ad hoc requirements and spend on credit cards and do all that sort of thing. So, I mean, in the ideal world, you'd purchase order everything, and as you get bigger, you have to. But as you get bigger, you probably have more cookie cutter kind of models where you've got the same build being done 10 times over, so it's easy. And it's very easy. There's some of the job management systems, you push a button and all the purchase orders are created. So it's not that hard. It's just whether you've got all of the items listed in exact detail at the start as well. So some things you find out as you go, especially if you're doing like a reno in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, where it's an Art Deco building, you've got no idea what's even under the floorboards. Like, how do you do that? So, yeah. So just, again, as much as possible, but the builders do have as little as possible mentality with purchase orders as well. Because there's another level, because you've got to go and create the purchase order, or you've got to have that process to create purchase orders. And some of them say, but well, when you get the bill, you create a purchase order and enter it. So that's you doing that, not me. I order the materials. Again, that'd be a micro builder versus a builder with some volume. So I guess the best practice, and don't mind me being a Dext and a Xero advocate, because I am, but as I mentioned, there's Dext, there's HubDoc, there's Easy Bills, there's Birdio, there's heaps of different ones. Birdio for trades, Dext for builders, HubDoc for consulting businesses. So I'm only mentioning Dext because I believe it's a better fit for the building industry, because we can do job coding and cost coding. We can get job codes and cost codes within the software if we need to. In the event we don't have purchase orders, that's where we get the data. So I guess the best practice I see right at the moment is collect the data, okay, and then you do that bill validation and review with Dext at the top there, or however you do that. Then you push it to Xero, and then you do the bookkeeping, okay? That's the accounting side done. That's the accuracy of money coming out of your bank account. If your job data is wrong in your job management system, it's wrong. If your information's wrong in Xero, and you pay the bills wrong, you're losing money and you're going to go bankrupt because you're not paying things right. So Dext is that data management system for us, making sure that the bills we pay are accurate out of Xero. And it's just no data entry. It's all data management. We get a statement. We're just managing the data. It's all a lot more accurate that way. And we obviously use BSBs and account numbers, and we've got a whole bill checking process there to make sure there's no scams and that come through. Yeah. So that's the source of truth. So you're just using technology to get the source of truth into your accounting system where you pay everything from. But then, as I said, then you've got the subset of data for the job. And this is where the true two-way integration works, because then all you've got to do is push it from Xero to the job. No data entry. So you may need to allocate a cost code or match a purchase order when you're in the job system itself. But there's no data entry at that point in time.
There was a question from Ken Ward over in WA, and I think you just answered his question, because he asked, do the data from both systems cross enter, or is it two sets of entry?
No, so the true two-way integration way, where we go in this example, it's just an example, there's many softwares, right? When we go from Dext to Xero to, I don't know, build exact or whatever on the job management side, we actually haven't entered any data at all. Dext has read the data, we push the data to Xero after making sure it's right, then we push it to the job, and then you allocate it a cost code. There's no data entry. In a true two-way integration, there's no data entry. The only time you enter
at the moment that doesn't exist, right?
There's some of the smaller newer systems like Next Minute and that do have that process available. And some are, but whether they still recommend to do it that way, I don't know. But getting it into the source of truth and then over there, yeah. So that's the That's the way Build Exact will work next year.
Okay.
When they've, and I'm in the design.
It's bizarre that the bigger ones haven't done it yet. If it's such a, it makes sense to do it that way.
Yeah, it's just a slow moving boat. And the bigger you are, the more priorities you've got. And is a bookkeeper wanting to push a piece of paper rather than type it their biggest problem? I don't know. They think you should type it on the job first anyway, or have a purchase order. So I think it's just a project manager's point of view versus a finance manager's point of view.
Yeah.
And so they probably, Build Exact definitely understand it needs to be done. It's just that I know Julian from Build Exact, and I've had that conversation with him, and he's the gentleman who's told us that it's getting done, and hopefully this year. So, but in the world, Kurt, of where it's not the true two-way integration, we can print a report from Dext and the matching PDF. So that someone can just sit down and concentrate on the purchase order and matching and the bill entry at one point in time in the week. And you get it done in 1/10 the time if you have that approach, rather than watching an account's inbox and grabbing every bill every time it turns up and trying to do data entry, or printing it out or putting it in an inbox folder or whatever you might do. Having that, the data is accurate, it's validated, it's approved. All someone has to do is accurately get it on the job. So that whole process, the accuracy is through the roof. The only inaccurate part is the actual, if they've got to type the data in the job management system. So there's definite benefits for collating the data before you even go down that pretend two-way path.
So just an app question from Luke here. Ken, by the way, said thank you, like you did answer the question, but Luke's asking, so what is involved if it's a fake two-way, right? Like with Buildertrend, for example, he's asking, so what's involved if you've got to manually enter it, right?
Yeah, so we can talk specific Buildertrend if you'd like. So it doesn't matter what system, I still reckon put it all in Dext and validate it and approve it. If you've got purchase orders in Buildertrend for everything, you don't need to try and work out what the purchase order is up front. But as I said, with Dext, you can print a spreadsheet of all the costs for the week if you do it weekly. Okay, and you can have a copy of the PDF. Okay, you have to do the data entry or the purchase order matching. So it depends whether you're using purchase orders or not. In Buildertrend, you actually create a purchase order when you do the data entry, right? So it's always a purchase order. It's the best way to do it. It's just whether that gets created when the budget gets generated and you generate all the purchase orders up front, which is the best way to do it. But either way, it's a manual purchase order match build data entry with Buildertrend. The question comes at that point in time that what Buildertrend want you to do is you have to do that data entry into Buildertrend at the moment. You can't avoid it. The question, then there's two options down the other side. Buildertrend suggests you push it to 0, and I suggest you don't, right? So in my way, the sync is off from the purchaser's side. Now, if you want the sync on, it's okay. You've got that whole debacle of the pretend two-way thing of trying to find paperwork and all that sort of stuff, and you can't put the bills in. Probably going too quick for a lot of people here. If you don't have the sync,
because it's a recording, so people can watch this again. I'll be sending it to people to watch multiple times.
Yeah. Okay. So best practice within our business of what we see is Dext to 0 for accounting accuracy. Then you get the data out of Dext and you do your purchase order matching or purchase order creation in Buildertrend, but don't integrate the purchases. You lose one thing at that point in time if you don't integrate purchases. In Buildertrend, you're kind of saying when you're entering the purchase order, because you've already got it approved by everyone, you're saying, I am recognizing this as a committed cost. And as far as Buildertrend is concerned, it's already paid. We're managing cash flow and accounts payable in Xero. So therefore, we don't need to know if of a $50,000 electrical invoice claim, there's 5 claims, say. We don't need to know if we've received 3 invoices and only paid 1. We're doing cash flow in Xero, not in the job management system. Where we say we've committed the cost, therefore we're assuming it's paid in builder terms. Then you don't need that integration on. Look, there are people that believe the integration was on and then we go through the other process. So it comes down to what you think about it at the time. But the most common way is that whole turn the integration off, let Dex do the accounting data so that we pay the bills the right way, and then still do your data entry into the job management system, but there's no need to push it to zero because it's already got undated entered, optical character recognition, no errors. So why would you then go and push something across that's been manually entered and run the risk of paying something wrong?
So that comes back to source of truth.
Yeah, source of truth. You've got to, zero has to be accurate, and it's the source of truth. And if the most accurate data can be put into zero, irrespective of what job management system you use, put it in zero. Like, don't wait for the non-source of truth system to tell you what to do from an accounting point of view. Like, if someone wants to talk through it, I can, in person, by all means ring, and I can just explain the two processes in detail. I've actually got a document on it about which way that the two work. And but it's a sort of document you got to kind of talk through, and just everyone just needs to understand. And there's been guys that have said, I want the two-way sync on no matter what, because that's in my way, I believe that's the best way to do it. So we turn it on. But then, as I said, the bookkeeping takes twice as long, and it's like 50% as accurate.
Now, just quickly, for anyone who's not a Xero user, because there will be some Quicken and MyOb users, it's just the same thing, just substitute,
Same
Quicken
concept.
or
Look, MIB Xero, and Xero for my business, I just believe it's the quickest and the easiest, and then my bills are cheaper by using Xero for my clients. But any of this is true with any accounting software. So you could use MYOB, QuickBooks Online, or Xero. I don't think I'd use anything other than those three. And look, at the end of the day, those three systems do exactly the same thing, just slightly different way. So it doesn't really matter. Dext integrates with everything in that instance. But MYOB also has an MYOB inbox. Then again, and if they build ABN validations and duplicate processing in, then you can sort of do things slightly differently. So of course, yeah, it just depends what you use as to exactly how you would implement this. But it's just the concept of collate the data, put it in the source of truth, then do the job management system third. Don't do it the other way around.
Yeah.
That's the best practice for financial data accuracy.
Perfect.
Oh, it's a lot there. As I said, if anyone wants to talk about this after the fact, give me a call. No problems talking about your exact scenario and what you think I think you should do. A bit about invoices, Kurt, that I don't know whether everyone knows this, but e-invoicing, been around for a while. It's a government initiative. Xero's been able to do this for a little while of I can put, for instance, if I get you as my coach, I can link my Xero file to your Xero file, and you can put your bill straight into my accounts payable within Xero. So that's called e-invoicing. So it means you don't have to email email PDFs, all that. That's what this is trying to solve.
Yeah.
But if you think about the building process and the validation and the job management system, it'll work if the source of truth is Xero, because then you could accept it there and then push it to your job management system. This is why what I'm talking about is also thinking about the future, right? That's the way it's going. No one will email PDFs. It'll be it's the biggest thing coming for businesses. You can't work with the government and email a PDF. You have to use e-invoicing. So in the past, we used to get paper ones. We used to print them. We used to sit there and data enter them. Right now, we get emails, and we use things like Dext, HubDoc, and all of that to push it into the accounting system. In the future, e-invoicing will put it straight in there. Now, certain people will so Dext is also an accepted e-invoicing system. So people still might want to collate it in something like Dext and get approvals done before it goes into the accounting system, because some people will be a little bit worried about scams. And what if there's an e-invoicing scam and someone puts a bill straight into my accounts payable and I just pay it because they haven't verified it? So there'll be different systems and processes there, but Dext can assist with putting it in a different system first, and then when you're happy, you push it across, because there's no data entry. All you're doing is going to validate the data. It's the same. That's a click. It's like tick or click. It's like 2 seconds once you validated everything. So, but anyway, that's the big thing coming in the future, this email PDF. So you think about it with the previous screen we're talking about here is if you're not getting it into the source of truth and then going to your job management system, you're working against the way of the future. If you're doing job management first and pushing to zero, that's old school. That's like, it's, I'm not 30, so I won't say, oh, it's so 2020. But it's working backwards, not forwards, I suppose. And you've always got to try and do what's best and what's looking forward. So again, that's why another reason why the source of truth should be your accounting software. So it'll be any accounting software. So MYOB can send to Xero, the government can send, you can have your own invoicing system, and everyone can just you register with, you can do it today. You can register with the government now and do it now. And then, those PDF scams are just the biggest threat to small business, where people pay people wrong. It happens every day.
It does. I see a lot. Right.
We've got so many. We've got so many systems and processes in place trying to stop people losing money. And Dext is our number one line of defense for that. And that's the reason I started using Dext, was the duplicate checking, the ABN checking. Tells me if it's an invalid ABN, and that's a good chance that's a scam, you know. And there's things like that you can check up front. Check the data first and then process it. So that's the way I see it. Make sure it's a bill that you're going to pay before you start running around with it.
Sure, of course.
Again, I think we've already spoken about sort of audit and data accuracy. Look, no matter what you do, you need to know it's right. So before you go and start making business decisions and working with a coach and marketing and sales and all that sort of stuff, you need to know it's accurate. And having these three systems, we can audit any job at any time, as long as we've been using a collection system, job management system, and an accounting system. Yep, we can audit jobs. It can take hours depending on the amount of paperwork and things like that, but it's we do it every time. We then say, build exact build trend, they're wrong. You know what I mean? And every now and again there might be a cost on a job. Just say job 1 and job 2, right? Just say there was a cost for job 1 and someone entered it on job 2. Or in Xero, for some reason, we recorded it on job 2 instead of job 1. So you catch both sides as well. So it works both ways. And I don't know how many businesses offer that service, but that's something that we've started doing probably in the last 12 months, because that's when we worked out that this data entry is a problem onto the job in the job management system. However it's done, it's never right, because it's error. And that's when we try and profess going from Dex to the source of truth to Xero in the instance of this slide, because it's data management, not data entry.
I like it. Just quickly, Ken was saying QuickBooks Online has purchase orders, tax, and job costing. So is that same for MYB and Xero?
Yeah, they've all got the same thing, but they never use an accounting software to do job management. So don't use Xero Projects, don't use MYOB jobs, don't do it in QBO. There's much more to a job than the financial data. Like we're talking financial data on a job here, right? This is like a peanut size of an office, of part. It's very, very, very important. I get that, but how you run a job, your budgets, your variations, like a million things. I'm not even going to try and list the things in a job management system that you need to use. Client portals. I mean, there's so many things. It's just a pinch. So that's when Xero had, what was it? Xero. Well, I know it as Xero Practice Manager, but Workflow Max, same sort of thing. They're creating a job system around the finances. Well, finances are a very, very important part of it, but it's actually about running the job, not keeping track of the costs. You need to know where you are on your job, and you use costs to do that. I get that. But as I said, there's gross profit margin analysis in a job management system. And there's net profit analysis in an accounting system. If any system tries to do both, it's very complicated, confusing, and then you lose track of your profit, and then you've got problems. If you go 6 months into a job, and in QBO jobs or Xero Projects or whatever, and then you lose track of it, it's impossible to work it out. Having the three systems I've spoken about, we can go bang, stop, audit, tomorrow we're back on track. So
those metrics you've got on screen there: break-even point, true staff costs, overheads for 12 months, estimated income for 12 months, so like forecasting monthly turnover amounts, overheads as a percentage of turnover, margin, markup, gross profit, net profit. Like those metrics are pivotal, and it's why everything hinges on this accurate data. Especially from my perspective, and I'm coaching someone, this is the scoreboard. I need these numbers so that we can make informed decisions in pretty much every aspect of the business.
You're correct. If you don't nail that part we've just been talking about for however long, you can't do this. You're only guessing at your margins, and you're quoting with margins and markup, I guess. But knowing the true margin and markup you're attaining, you'll never know it. Never ever know it. Even simple things like cost of business rate and getting that right. Knowing what your overheads are as a percentage of income and things like that. Unless you've got the data right in the first place, you're only guessing when you're doing it. And if you're only guessing, what's the point? It's just like guess yourself out the back door. Like, so accurate data, as you said, Kurt, all these numbers, all these things mentioned in these next couple of slides are crucial to knowing where you're going and how you're going. As you said, it's the scoreboard, and all that first part allows you to do this. It also allows you to know your profits. So, I mean, I know you've got a profit first mentality, and I do too. You want to know what you're making. You want to know that I'm going to have 15% net profit this year. So that means everything that comes through the front door, 15% of it goes into that bank account. That's your first big marker. If you then can't pay your bills, well, you're not getting 15% net profit, right? Simple as that. So it's having that profit first mentality definitely helps you know if your profit is on target to what you had planned for. I also like people to analyze their bank account monthly. Like, if I closed today and everyone paid me and I paid everyone, how much money would I have left? Like, knowing what it really means to you as a family, I think that's crucial. And then to be able to do that, you've got the two big numbers that everyone wants to know and everyone tries to work out, and without all that first stuff done accurately, you can never work it out. It's what's the cost to complete a project and how much money of that is mine. Like, is the project itself cash flow positive or cash flow negative? You know, if the job management system's not accurate, you'll never know all this. And then you're making decisions off, oh, I'm going to make 200 grand on this project. Well, the data's just wrong in the job management system. If you audited that against your accounting system, you'd work that out pretty quick smart that you're getting 50 grand, right? So that's a whole big business decision difference. So, and if you can do this, and the gentleman that's done it, he was so surprised which jobs made him the most money. So surprised. It wasn't the ones he thought. And having all the data is good for that. Accurate data. So then once you know your profit, so you would analyze your gross profits in your job management system and just cross-check it to zero. You don't sort of use zero for that. It's just a cross-check. But then you've got to all pull it back to a business level thing, because at the end of the day, it's the business that can't go bankrupt. If you've got 10 profitable jobs and one unprofitable job, the business is still going to succeed, right? So you're trying to manage the jobs to never lose on a job. I get that. But at some stage, you've got to put it all back together. And if you've got all the data, you can work out everything. You can work out your business work in progress. I mean, your accountant asks for that every year. Home warranty asks for that when you go for home warranty. It's not that hard to work out. It's just 7 numbers, seriously, 7 numbers out of your job management system, put onto a spreadsheet, and it tells you your work in progress number. I can do work in progress for someone, and it tells me whether they're positive or negative work in progress. And for instance, if someone takes big deposits, right? If someone doesn't take, no, let's go the other way. If someone doesn't take big deposits and their work in progress is negative, I go, your job management system's wrong, straight out, right? You can look at that work in progress calculation and know that the job management system data is wrong, and then that flicks an audit for us between the systems, and then we fix it up. So you get a lot out of doing financial forecasting. It helps review the accuracy, and it also planning 12 months in advance. And if you know your average gross margin, you can forecast 12 months in advance quite easily without having to go down to individual supplier, which takes forever. But you can do it at a higher level. So again, accurate data, accurate forecasting. If you don't know the exact margin you're attaining, not what you estimate with, but the one that you're actually attaining on average across all your jobs, and that takes into account the size of job and everything as well, Kurt. If you think you're getting 25 and you're getting 18, well, there's a whole big difference there in profit, which if you're forecasting and keeping an eye on it once a month, then you can do that. But again, all that stuff, the data's got to be accurate. It's as simple as that. Or there's no point doing this phase if the data's not accurate.
And that is so sad to see that most guys out there, even people listening to this, man, their data's not accurate. And I can tell you now, like you'll only realize how liberating it is to have accurate numbers once you come out of it, because there's a lot of people that go through their entire careers just living with inaccurate numbers, struggling with cash flow, with a lack of profit, and they just assume that's the way business is, but it's not. And once you get the numbers right, it's incredibly liberating. Clarity is power, man.
And it's how you collect it that matters. If you follow good processes, right, and collect things the right way and put them in the right spot and cross-verify, all this stuff becomes so simple and easy, and the business decisions you can make. Like I say a number of times, we do bookkeeping for marketing, Kurt, and the reason it is because if we know the true net profit of a job, so that includes not just how the job runs, but how it impacts the business itself. I mean, you talk about niche and blue houses and everything all the time. Well, this is very important information for that decision.
And this is chase the margin, then the revenue. Most people think you need to scale to make profit, but no, you got to find the profit to then scale.
It's funny. Yeah, you don't bank turnover, you bank profit, you bank margin.
Yeah.
So when people talk about a $10 million business, I hope they're talking about net profit, not turnover, because that's actually irrelevant. Turnover is irrelevant for profit.
Yeah, profit over turnover for sure. That's the quickest way to get into that 7-figure club is doing exactly this. Is like getting the accurate scoreboard, identifying the profit, pursuing, once you've identified it, pursue the profit, over then the revenue. So it's just it's amazing how quickly it happens. So I'll talk about 3 years, even from a standing start, you can get there.
Yeah. So I mean, Kurt's got a book. I've got a book. If you want some further information on systems and paper processes and things like that, let us know. Contact information. But it's, in summary, it's just get someone to help you do this stuff if you're trying to do it yourself. And if you're a bigger business, just get someone to help you set it up. Like, once it's up and running and everyone understands their roles and responsibilities and the right people are doing the right job, there's no reason you can't be planning 6, 12, 18 months, 2 years in advance for 15%, 20% net margins. Like, why not?
Yeah. Probably the most powerful principle for success in business is who, not how. Don't ask, how do I get this done? Figure out who can help you get it done. So you're a perfect example of that, Don. I like to think that I am as well. So guys, get in touch with Don direct. So if I want to get in touch with you directly, yourself or Blake, you put up your details there. I know there'll be a lot more people watching the recording than are on the live call right now. So
so it's so either if you want a younger version of me, Blake's your man. We both got the same knowledge. So either Blake or I, just go to the website and inquire, and one of us will give you a call. Email us. Even if you just want to have a chat about what you think, what we think about where you're at, that's fine. You don't have to engage full-on engaged services. It's here about just giving out some information for as I said, I just love people doing things the right way.
Beautiful, man. Anyone listening who doesn't have a copy of my book, $1 Million Builder, I'm happy to send one out to you for free. I'll cover all the costs, including postage and handling. But on that note, guys, thank you so much for joining the call. Don, thanks a million, mate. Legend.
Thanks,
good. Tomorrow.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Cheers. Bye.
See ya. Bye.